Your son failed every test. Aliens mocked. Then his blood awakened the ancient weapon Park 5. The reckoning the Valari did not wait one cycle. They attacked within hours. The Armada was the largest ever assembled in galactic history. 5,000 warships, each one the size of a small moon. 1 million soldiers, trained from birth to kill. Weapons that could crack planets in half. All of it pointed at one target, Earth. High Commander Aron stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Victory. Through the viewing screen, he could see Earth growing larger. That small blue world that had caused so much trouble. That tiny planet that had dared to challenge the greatest empire in the galaxy. All ships report ready, his lieutenant announced. Good. Aron's face was hard as stone. Begin the bombardment. I want nothing left alive on that world. Sir. The lieutenant hesitated. Our sensors are detecting something. At the edge of the solar system, what is it? A single life sign. Human. Aron turned slowly. On the screen, a new image appeared. A small figure floating in the emptiness of space. No ship, no suit. Just a human boy, standing between the Armada and his home world. Park Do-yun. He came alone, Aron said. He almost laughed. One human against 5,000 ships. Perhaps his power has made him mad. The lieutenant was not laughing. His hands were shaking. Sir, our weapons officers are reporting problems. Their targeting systems will not lock onto him. It is like trying to aim at empty space, then fire at the planet. Go around him. We cannot, sir. There is some kind of field. It extends across the entire solar system. Nothing can pass through without his permission. Aron's jaw tightened. Open a communication channel. The screen flickered. Do-hyun's face appeared. He looked calm, almost peaceful. Behind him, the stars burned bright. "Aye, Commander," Do-hyun said. "I gave the Council one cycle to respond. You chose war instead. That was a mistake." "You are one boy," Aron replied. "You have power, yes, but you cannot stop an armada. You cannot defeat 1,000,000 soldiers. Surrender now, and we will make your death quick." "I am not going to die today," Do-hyun said. "Neither is anyone on Earth, but you." He paused. His eyes seemed to glow from within. "You will learn what happens when you threaten my people." He raised his hand. Aron expected an attack. He expected fire or lightning or some weapon of golden light. He was ready for violence. He was not ready for what actually happened. The flagship Eternal Victory simply stopped. Every system shut down at once. Lights, weapons, engines, life support. 5,000 crew members suddenly found themselves floating in darkness and silence. Then the ship began to change. The metal walls started to bend, to twist, to fold in on themselves like paper. Crew members screamed as corridors collapsed and rooms compressed. The great warship, pride of the Valori fleet, crumpled like a piece of trash, being crushed in a giant hand. Aron managed one last transmission before his bridge collapsed around him. "All ships, retreat!" Retreat now. But it was too late. Across the Armada, the same thing was happening. Ships folded. Ships broke apart. Ships simply vanished, their atoms scattered across space. In less than 1 minute, 5,000 warships became nothing but dust and debris. And Do-hyun had not moved from his spot. His hand was still raised, his face still calm. He watched the destruction with sad eyes. He had not wanted this. He had hoped they would listen. He had hoped they would choose peace, but they had chosen war. And in war, there were consequences. When the last ship had fallen, Do-hyun lowered his hand. The solar system was quiet again. Earth was safe. Humanity was safe. For now. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council watched in horror as their greatest fleet was destroyed in seconds. Representatives from 10,000 species saw their future change before their eyes. The Valori, who had ruled for millennia, were broken. Their military was gone. Their power was nothing, and the human boys still floated among the stars, untouched, unstoppable. Do-Yoon's voice echoed through every communication system in the galaxy. Every ship, every station, every planet heard his words. You mocked us. You called us weak. You called us worthless. You kept us as servants and slaves. You thought we would never rise. His voice was not angry. It was simply stating facts. You were wrong. He paused. In the silence, millions of beings waited. Humanity asks for nothing but what we deserve. Equal treatment, respect, the chance to live and grow and find our place in the galaxy. We did not start this war. We did not want this war. But we will end it. Another pause. Then, to the humans watching this message, do not be afraid anymore. Our time has come. We are not alone. We never were. The message ended. On Earth, people poured into the streets. They looked up at the sky and cheered. For 300 years, they had believed they were inferior. For 300 years, they had accepted their place at the bottom. Now they knew the truth. Now they knew what they could become. In the ruins of the Galactic Council chamber, Captain Kim Yuna stood by a window, watching the stars. She was no longer a captain. The military ranks did not matter anymore. Nothing would be the same after today. She felt a presence beside her and turned to find her son standing there. He looked tired but determined. The power of the forge burned quietly inside him. What happens now? Yuna asked. Now we build something new, Do-Hyun replied. A galaxy where humans are not slaves. Where every species is judged by their actions, not their birth. Where the lies of the past cannot control the future. It will not be easy. The Valori still have allies. There will be those who resist, I know. Do-Hyun looked at his mother. But I will not do this alone. Humanity will rise together. And I need you beside me. Yuna smiled. For the first time in years, it was a real smile, full of hope. You are my son. I will always be beside you. Mother and son stood together, looking out at the stars. The galaxy was vast and dangerous and full of challenges they could not yet imagine. But they were no longer afraid. Far away on 100 different worlds, other humans were waking up to the truth. Some had been servants their whole lives. Some had been born in slavery. Some had never dared to dream of anything better. Now they all had hope. Now they all had a champion. Park Do-Hyun, the boy who had failed every test. The boy who had been mocked and dismissed and forgotten. The boy who had discovered that his weakness was actually his greatest strength. He had awakened the ancient weapon. He had revealed the great lie. He had destroyed the mightiest fleet ever assembled with a wave of his hand. And he was just getting started. The progenitors had planted the seeds of life across the galaxy 10 million years ago. They had created countless species, countless civilizations, countless empires. But they had always known that one species would be special. One species would remain pure. One species would be worthy of their greatest gifts. Humanity had finally claimed its inheritance. The stars waited. The future was unwritten. And for the first time in history, humans would help write it, not as servants, not as failures, but as equals. As the inheritors of the stars. Your son failed every test. Aliens mocked. Then his blood awakened the ancient weapon. Part 4. The Revelation. The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. It sat at the heart of Nexus Prime, a great dome of crystal and light where representatives from 10,000 species gathered to govern the stars. Today, every seat was filled. Today, the air was thick with fear. Ambassador Theron stood at the central podium. His silver skin was pale, almost gray. His hands gripped the edge of the podium so tightly that his knuckles had turned white. "We face a crisis," he announced. His voice echoed through the chamber, carried by invisible speakers to every corner of the dome. A human has bonded with a progenitor artifact. He now possesses power beyond measurement. The chamber erupted in noise. Thousands of voices spoke at once. Some were angry. Some were frightened. Some were simply confused. High Commander Orin of the Valori military rose from his seat. He was a massive being, taller even than Theron, with scars across his face from centuries of battle. "Where is this human now?" "He is being held in the detention center," Theron replied. "For now? For now?" Orin's voice was sharp. "Why has he not been eliminated?" "We tried." Theron's voice dropped. The chamber went silent. "He cannot be harmed. Our weapons do not affect him. Our soldiers cannot approach him. He simply waits." "Waits for what?" "For this meeting. He has demanded to address the council." Another explosion of noise. Some representatives stood up and shouted. Others tried to leave. Security forces blocked the exits. From her seat in the human section, Captain Kim Yuna watched everything with careful eyes. She had not seen her son since the incident in the vault. She had only heard rumors that he had destroyed an entire squad of soldiers, that he floated in the air like a god, that his eyes glowed with ancient fire. She did not know what to believe. She only knew that she needed to see him. The main doors of the chamber opened. All noise stopped. Every eye turned to watch. Park Do-hyun walked into the Galactic Council chamber. He looked different now. He stood taller, moved with more confidence. His eyes still looked human, dark and warm, but there was something behind them. Something vast. Something old. He wore simple clothes, the gray uniform of a cleaning worker. But power radiated from him like heat from a star. The air itself seemed to bend around him as he walked. He stopped in the center of the chamber, directly below the dome. He looked up at the thousands of faces watching him. Aliens of every shape and color, every size and species. All of them afraid of one human boy. "Thank you for seeing me," Do-hyun said. His voice was calm, polite. It did not echo with power. He was trying to seem normal, trying not to frighten them more than necessary. High Commander Orin pushed forward. "You have committed crimes against the Galactic Council. You have destroyed military property. You have attacked soldiers. You must surrender yourself to justice." "I defended myself," Do-hyun replied. "Your soldiers attacked first." "The artifact must be removed from you," Orin continued. "Our scientists will find a way. If you cooperate, we may show mercy. The forge cannot be removed. It is part of me now." Do-hyun looked around the chamber. "But I did not come here to talk about myself. I came to talk about the truth." "What truth?" Theron demanded. "The truth about humanity. The truth about why we have no powers. The truth about what you did to us." The chamber became very still. Yuna leaned forward in her seat. Do-hyun raised his hand. Golden light spilled from his palm, forming shapes in the air. Images appeared, floating above the heads of the council members. Images that the forge had shown him. Images that had been hidden for 300 years. The first image showed Earth, blue and green, hanging in space. Human ships were leaving the planet for the first time, reaching out toward the stars. 300 years ago, humanity took its first steps into the galaxy, Do-hyun narrated. We were curious. We were hopeful. We wanted to learn and grow and find our place among the stars. The next image showed a Valori research station. Scientists were studying human DNA, comparing it to other species. Their faces showed surprise, then fear, then calculation. The Valori discovered us first. They studied us. They tested us. And they found something that terrified them. Dahun's voice hardened. They found that humans were compatible with progenitor technology. That we could bond with artifacts that no other species could use. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Some council members shook their heads in denial. "This is a lie," Theron shouted. "Fabrication! The artifact has corrupted his mind." "Watch," Doyun said simply. The images continued. Secret meetings between Valori leaders. Plans being drawn. Decisions being made. The Valori decided that humanity must never be allowed to reach its potential. They created a system of tests designed to make us fail. They spread lies about human weakness throughout the galaxy. They kept us working as servants, as cleaners, as nothing. Dahyun's eyes found Theron. They knew that if even one human found a progenitor artifact, their control would end. The final image showed the testing chamber. Dohyun recognized it immediately. It was the room where he had failed. But now, he could see what was hidden. Machines that blocked abilities, fields that dampened power, systems designed to ensure that every human would score 0. "I did not fail your tests," Dohyun said. "Your tests were designed to fail me. To fail all of us." The chamber exploded. Representatives screamed accusations at each other. Some attacked the Valori delegates. Security forces rushed in to restore order, but there was no order to restore Dot in the chaos. Captain Yuna pushed through the crowd. She ran toward the center of the chamber, toward her son. Security tried to stop her, but Dohyun raised his hand, and they flew backward. Mother and son stood face to face. "Is it true?" Yuna whispered. Her eyes were full of tears. "Everything you showed them?" "Yes," Dohyun said. "All of it. They knew what we could become. They kept us down because they were afraid." Yuna touched her son's face. He was still her boy, still the child she had raised, the young man she had tried to protect. But he was also something more now, something new. "I am sorry," she said. "I am sorry I could not protect you. I am sorry you had to learn the truth this way. Do not be sorry." Dohyun took his mother's hand. "You did everything you could. You fought for humanity when no one else would. Now let me fight for us." Behind them, High Commander Aron had restored some order. He stood at the podium, his voice booming through the chamber. "Enough. These images prove nothing. They could be fabrications, tricks of the artifact." "Then test me again," Dohyun said. He turned to face the commander. "Right now. In front of everyone. Use your machines. Use your fields. I will show you what humans can really do." Orin hesitated. He looked at Theron. Theron looked away. "You will not test me," Dohyun continued, "because you know what the results will show. You know that your entire system is built on lies." He looked around the chamber one more time. At the frightened faces. At the angry faces. At the uncertain faces of species who were just beginning to understand how deeply they had been deceived. "Humanity will no longer accept its place at the bottom," Dohyun announced. "We will no longer bow to those who have lied to us for centuries. We are the true heirs of the progenitors. We are the ones they were waiting for." He took his mother's hand and began to walk toward the exit. "Stop them," Orin commanded. But no soldier moved. No one wanted to be the one to challenge the human with golden fire in his eyes dotted the door. Dohyun paused. "The Council has one cycle to respond. End the lies. Free the humans who serve as slaves. Recognize our place in the galaxy." His voice turned cold. "Or face the consequences." Then he was gone, his mother at his side, leaving the great chamber in ruins behind him. War was coming. Everyone knew it. The galaxy would never be the same. And somewhere deep in space, other humans were watching. Other humans were hoping. Other humans were beginning to understand that their time had finally come. Your son failed every test. Aliens mocked, then his blood awakened the ancient weapon part 3. The awakening the voice inside Do-hyun's head was ancient. It sounded like thunder and whispers at the same time. It felt like standing at the edge of an ocean that had no end. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. "I have waited long for you." Do-hyun found his words. "What are you?" "I am the forge of progenitors. I am the first tool, the last weapon, the seed from which all stars grew." The golden light had dimmed, but it still glowed from inside the monolith. Do-hyun could see the symbols on its surface now. They were moving, shifting, rearranging themselves like living things. "I do not understand," Do-hyun said. His voice shook. "I am nobody. I failed every test. I have no abilities." "You failed their tests," the voice answered. "Tests designed for lesser beings. Tests that measure the wrong things." "What do you mean?" The monolith pulsed with light. Images flooded Do-hyun's mind. He saw the beginning of everything. He saw beings of pure energy creating galaxies with a thought. He saw them planting life on billions of worlds, then stepping back to watch what would grow. "The progenitors created all life in this universe," the voice explained. "Every species, every civilization, every empire that has ever existed came from them. But they knew that their children would change, would evolve, would become something different from the original design." More images. Do-hyun saw aliens developing powers. Telekinesis, energy manipulation, neural interfaces. He saw them becoming more powerful, but also more artificial, more dependent on their gifts. "Every species in the galaxy has evolved away from the baseline," the voice continued. "They have gained abilities, yes, but they have lost something too. They have lost their purity, their original form." Do-hyun shook his head. "But humans have no powers. That is why they call us weak." "Humans have no artificial powers," the voice corrected. "You have not been changed. You have not been corrupted. You remain as the progenitors first designed life to be, pure, unmodified, baseline." The truth hit Do-hyun like a wave. The forge needs a pure host. Yes, every other species has evolved too far. Their bodies reject me. Their minds cannot hold my power. For 10 million years, I have waited for a species that remained true to the original design. For 10 million years, I have waited for humans. Outside the vault, Do-hyun could hear sounds, footsteps, voices. The alarms were still screaming. People were coming. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now you choose. I can give you power beyond anything in this galaxy. The power to reshape matter with a thought. The power to travel across space in an instant. The power to command fleets, destroy worlds, create life." The monolith glowed brighter. "But you must accept me fully. Once we bond, we cannot be separated. My power will be yours. My purpose will be yours. My enemies will be yours." "Your enemies?" "There are those who feared this day would come, who worked to prevent it, who kept humanity weak and hidden so that no human would ever find me." Before Do-hyun could ask more questions, the vault door burst open. Soldiers poured in, weapons raised. They wore Valori armor, silver and sharp. Behind them came Ambassador Theron, his face twisted with rage and fear. "Seize the human," Theron commanded. Soldiers rushed toward Do-hyun. He raised his hands, expecting to be grabbed, expecting to be hurt. But the soldiers stopped. They could not move forward. An invisible wall stood between them and Do-hyun. Theron's eyes went wide. "What is this?" Do-hyun looked at his hands. He had not done anything. He had not tried to create a barrier. But somehow, the forge had protected him. "The bonding has begun," the voice said in his mind. You do not need to accept me with words. Your blood has already chosen. Power flooded through Do-hyun's body. It felt like lightning and fire and ice all at once. It felt like being born again. His feet left the ground. He rose into the air, lifted by energy he could not see. The soldiers opened fire. Their weapons shot beams of light that should have killed instantly. But the beams bent around Do-hyun, curving away like water around a stone. Stop! Darren screamed. Stop shooting. Do-hyun floated higher. He could feel everything now. He could feel the station around him. Millions of beings going about their lives. He could feel the stars beyond, burning in the darkness. He could feel the entire galaxy, vast and beautiful and full of secrets. And he could feel something else. Memories that were not his own. Memories from the Forge, from the progenitors, from 10 million years of waiting. He saw the truth. He saw Valori scientists discovering humans 300 years ago. He saw their tests, their experiments, their growing fear. He saw secret meetings where they decided that humanity must be controlled, must be limited, must never be allowed to reach the stars in full strength. He saw the rigged tests at the Galactic Academy. He saw how every human candidate had been set up to fail. He saw how his own results had been predetermined before he ever entered the testing chamber. Humans were not worthless. Humans had been made to look worthless. You knew? Do-hyun said. His voice echoed with power now. It shook the walls of the vault. You knew what we could become. Darren's silver face went pale. The boy is mad. The artifact has corrupted his mind. No. Do-hyun descended slowly until his feet touched the ground. The soldiers backed away from him, terror in their eyes. For the first time in my life, I can see clearly. You have lied to us. To everyone. You kept humanity down because you were afraid of what we might do. This is nonsense, Darren said. But his voice was shaking. Humans have no abilities. Everyone knows this. We have the only ability that matters. Do-hyun raised his hand. In his palm, a ball of golden light appeared. It grew larger, brighter, until the entire vault was bathed in its glow. We are compatible with the progenitors' technology. We are the true heirs to their power. He closed his hand and the light disappeared. The soldiers' weapons crumbled to dust in their hands. Their armor fell apart like paper. They stood before him naked and afraid, with nothing to protect them. Run, Do-hyun said. Tell the council what you have seen. Tell them that humanity is no longer sleeping. The soldiers ran. They pushed past each other in their hurry to escape. Within seconds, only Theron remained. The ambassador stood very still. His eyes moved from Do-hyun to the monolith and back again. You do not know what you have done, he said quietly. The council will not accept this. They will come for you. They will come for all humans. Let them come, Do-hyun replied. We are ready now. Darren turned and walked away. His steps were slow and heavy. At the door, he paused and looked back. Your mother, he said. She will suffer for this. Every human in the galaxy will suffer for what you have done today. Then he was gone. Do-hyun stood alone in the vault. The monolith behind him was dark now, its power transferred fully to him. The Forge of Progenitors was no longer a separate thing. It was part of him. He was part of it. In his mind, the ancient voice spoke one more time. What will you do now, young one? Do-hyun thought about his mother. He thought about Earth. He thought about all the humans who had been mocked and dismissed, and treated like animals for centuries. Now, he said, I find my mother. And then we show the galaxy what humanity really is. He walked out of the vault, leaving the dust and darkness behind. Above him, the station trembled with fear and confusion. The Galactic Council was already gathering, already planning, already preparing for war. They did not know yet how completely everything had changed, but they would learn soon. Your son failed every test. Aliens mocked. Then his blood awakened the ancient weapon Part 2. The relic 3 months passed since the testing day. Park Do-yoon learned what it meant to be invisible. Every morning, he woke up at 4 o'clock. He put on a gray uniform that had no name or rank on it. He ate his breakfast alone in a corner of the workers' hall, where the food was cold and tasteless. Then he reported to his supervisor, a fat Valori named Gal, who gave him his assignments for the day. Do-yoon cleaned floors. He scrubbed walls. He emptied waste containers and washed windows and polished surfaces that no one would ever look at. He did the jobs that robots could do, but robots cost money. Humans were free. The station was called Nexus Prime. It was the center of galactic government, a massive structure floating in space between 3 star systems. Millions of beings lived and worked there. Politicians made deals. Scientists made discoveries. Soldiers trained for wars. And somewhere in the lowest levels, Park Do-yoon pushed a mop across dirty floors. He rarely saw his mother now. Captain Yuna was busy with diplomatic meetings, trying to repair the damage his failure had caused. When they did meet, she held him tight and told him she loved him. But he could see the sadness in her eyes. He could see how tired she was. One day, Gal called Do-hyun to his office. This was unusual. Gal never spoke to workers unless they had done something wrong. "Human," Gal said, not looking up from his desk. "You are being reassigned." Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten. "Where, sir?" "The Forbidden Vault." Gal finally looked at him. There was something strange in his small eyes. "Do you know what that is?" "No, sir. It is a storage area in the deepest level of the station. It contains artifacts from ancient times. Objects that no one understands. Objects that do not work." Gal smiled, showing yellow teeth. "It has not been cleaned in 40 years. No one wants to go down there. But you are human. You have no value. So you will go." Don bowed his head. "Yes, sir. You will work alone. No one will check on you. Just clean until the job is done. Do you understand?" "Yes, sir." Gal waved his hand, dismissing him. As Do-hyun left, he heard the Valori laughing to himself. Do-hyun did not know why. The next morning, Do-hyun took an elevator down to level 0. The elevator was old and slow. It groaned and shook as it descended. When the doors finally opened, Do-hyun stepped out into complete darkness. He turned on his flashlight. The beam cut through the black air, revealing a long hallway covered in dust. The walls were made of some kind of dark metal that absorbed the light. The air was cold and stale. It smelled like ancient things. Do-hyun walked slowly forward. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He had never felt so alone in his life. At the end of the hallway, there was a massive door. It was already open, just a crack, as if someone had left it that way long ago and never returned. Do-hyun pushed against it. The door was heavy, but it moved. Inside was the Forbidden Vault. The room was enormous. Do-hyun could not see the far walls even with his flashlight, but he could see what filled the space. Thousands of objects arranged on pedestals and shelves and tables. Some were small, like jewelry or tools. Some were large, like vehicles or machines. All of them were covered in thick layers of dust. These were the artifacts. Objects collected from dead civilizations across the galaxy. Objects that scientists had studied for centuries without understanding. Objects that had no power, no function, no purpose that anyone could find. Do-hyun set down his cleaning supplies. He did not know where to start. The job was impossible. One person could clean this room for 100 years and still not finish. But he had nowhere else to go. Nothing else to do. So he picked up his cloth and began to wipe dust from the nearest object. Days turned into weeks. Do-hyun fell into a rhythm. He would clean one section of the vault, then move to the next. He ate his meals alone in the darkness. He slept on a small mat in the corner. He rarely went back to the upper levels. Slowly, he began to feel something strange. Peace. Down here, no one mocked him. No one called him a failure. No one looked at him with disgust. He was alone with the ancient objects, and somehow that was enough. He also began to notice things. Some of the artifacts had symbols on them. The same symbols appeared on different objects from different civilizations, as if there was some connection that no one had seen. One night, Do-hyun found himself standing in front of the largest artifact in the vault. It was a monolith, a great black stone that rose from the floor like a tower. It was twice his height and perfectly smooth. No dust stuck to its surface. No symbols marked its face. Do-hyun had cleaned around it many times, but he had never touched it. Something about it made him nervous. Something about it felt alive. Tonight, for some reason, he reached out his hand. The surface was cold. Colder than anything he had ever felt. But as his fingers pressed against the stone, he felt something else. A vibration. A hum. Like a heartbeat deep inside the rock. He pulled his hand back quickly. His heart was pounding. He told himself he had imagined it. He went back to cleaning. But his eyes kept returning to the monolith. The next night, he touched it again. This time, he felt the hum more clearly. It was not his imagination. The stone was responding to him. On the third night, as Do-hyun was wiping dust from the base of the monolith, his cloth caught on a sharp edge. He pulled too hard, and the edge sliced across his palm. Blood welled up from the cut. Bright red human blood. It dripped from his hand and fell onto the surface of the monolith. For 1 second. Nothing happened. Then the world changed. The blood sank into the stone as if the stone was drinking it. Golden light burst from inside the monolith, filling the entire vault. Symbols appeared on its surface, blazing like fire, spreading across the black stone like cracks in ice. Do-hyun stumbled backward, his hand pressed against his chest. The light was so bright he could barely see. The hum was now a roar, shaking the floor beneath his feet. Alarms began to scream. Red lights flashed in the hallways outside. On every level of the station, sensors detected an energy signature that had been silent for 10 million years. In the Galactic Council chamber. Ambassador Theron was in the middle of a speech when the alarms interrupted him. He looked at his advisors with confusion and then with growing fear. What is happening? He demanded. A scientist ran to a console and went pale. Sir, the readings are coming from level 0, from the Forbidden Vault. That is impossible. Nothing in that vault has any power, sir. The scientist's voice shook. The energy output is greater than anything we have ever recorded. Greater than a sun. Greater than a fleet of warships. He looked at the ambassador with terror in his eyes. Something has awakened. Deep below, in the golden light of the vault, Park Do-hyun stood before the monolith. The symbols had stopped spreading. The roar had become a whisper. And inside his head, for the first time in his life, he heard a voice that was not his own. Finally, the voice said, "After so long, a worthy host." Do-hyun opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. He was frozen, caught between fear and wonder, as the ancient weapon chose its new master. The artifact that no species could activate for 10 million years had been waiting. Waiting for something specific. Waiting for something pure. Waiting for human blood. Your son failed every test. Aliens mocked. Then his blood awakened the ancient weapon. Part 1. The failure. The testing chamber was cold and white. Park Do-hyun stood in the center of the room, alone. Around him, machines hummed and beeped. Holographic. Screens floated in the air, showing numbers and symbols he did not understand. Above his head, a large display showed his scores. Every single one was red. Every single one showed 0. Do-yoon was 18 years old. He had dark hair and thin shoulders. He was not tall, not strong, not special in any way that anyone could see. He had come to the Galactic Academy with hope in his heart. That hope was now dying behind a glass wall. The observers watched him. There were 12 of them, all from different alien species. But the ones who mattered most were the Valori. They were tall beings with silver skin and eyes like polished stones. They were the rulers of the Galactic Council. They decided which species had value and which did not. Ambassador Theron was their leader. He stood at the front of the observation room, his arms crossed over his chest. A small smile played on his thin lips as he watched the human boy fail again and again. "Begin the telekinesis test," a mechanical voice announced in front of Do-yoon. A small metal ball floated in the air. He was supposed to move it with his mind. He had seen Valori children do this easily. He had seen other alien species push objects across rooms with just a thought. Do-yoon closed his eyes. He focused all his energy on the ball. He imagined it moving. He pushed with his mind as hard as he could. Nothing happened. The ball did not move even a little bit. The display above his head flashed. Telekinesis aptitude, 0. Some of the observers laughed quietly. Do-yoon heard them, and his face became hot with shame. "Begin the energy manipulation test," the voice said. This time, Do-yoon had to create a small spark of energy between his hands. Every species in the galaxy could do this. It was the most basic skill. Even the lowest worker drones from the mining planets could make a tiny light. Do-yoon held out his hands. He concentrated. He tried to feel the energy that was supposed to flow through all living things. He felt nothing. His hands remained empty and dark. Energy manipulation aptitude, 0. More laughter from behind the glass. Louder this time. Begin the neural interface test. For this test, Do-yoon had to connect his mind to a simple computer system. It was how all galactic citizens communicated, worked, and lived. Without this ability, a person could not even use basic technology. Do-yoon pressed his fingers to the interface panel. He tried to send his thoughts into the machine. He tried to feel the connection that should form between his brain and the computer. The machine made an error sound. Neural interface aptitude, 0. Ambassador Theron turned to the other observers. His smile was now wide and cruel. "You see?" he said. "This is what humans offered the galaxy. Nothing. Absolutely nothing." A Valori scientist stepped forward with a data tablet. "Sir, these are the lowest scores we have ever recorded. In 10,000 years of testing, no species has shown such complete lack of ability." "Fascinating," Theron said. Though he did not sound fascinated, he sounded pleased. "And this is one of their best? One of their chosen candidates?" "Yes, sir." Humanity submitted him as one of their top prospects. Theron laughed. The sound was cold and sharp. "Then humanity has no prospects at all." In another part of the observation room, Captain Kim Yuna stood apart from the others. She wore the uniform of the human Space Force, neat and pressed. Her hands were behind her back, but they were shaking. She was trying very hard not to cry. Do-yoon was her son. She had fought for 20 years to earn humanity's place among the stars. She had led ships into battle. She had negotiated treaties. She had begged and bargained for humans to be allowed into the Galactic Academy. And now her own son was proving that humans were worthless. A Valori officer stepped close to her. "Captain Kim," he said softly, so others could not hear. "Your species should accept its place. You are good workers. Strong bodies, simple minds. There is no shame in being servants." Yuna did not answer. She kept her eyes on her son, standing alone in that cold white room. The testing continued, there were 12 more tests. Do-hyun failed everyone. He could not read minds. He could not heal wounds with touch. He could not see through walls or predict the future or change its shape. He could not do anything that mattered in the galaxy. When the last test was done, the display above his head showed a final summary. Total galactic aptitude score, 0. Classification, non-viable. The observation room erupted in conversation. The alien representatives talked and whispered among themselves. Many were pointing at Dahlia and laughing. Ambassador Theron raised his hand for silence. Then he pressed a button that allowed his voice to enter the testing chamber. "Human," he said. His voice echoed off the white walls. "Do you understand what these results mean?" Do-hyun looked up at the glass wall. He could not see through it, but he knew they were watching him. "Yes," he said. His voice was quiet but steady. "Your species has sent us their best," Theron continued. "And their best is nothing. Humans have no place in the galactic community. You lack every gift that makes a species worthy." Do-hyun said nothing. What could he say? "You will be assigned to the cleaning crews," Theron announced. "That is all your kind is good for. Manual labor. Simple tasks. Perhaps you can mop floors without failing." Behind the glass, Yuna finally let one tear fall down her cheek. She wiped it away quickly. She was a captain. She could not show weakness. But inside, her heart was breaking. As Do-hyun was led out of the testing chamber, he passed a group of young Valori students. They were his age, maybe younger. They looked at him like he was an insect. "Look," one of them said. "The human failure." "I heard they have no abilities at all," another whispered. "Like animals. Worse than animals. At least animals have instincts." They laughed as Do-hyun walked past. He kept his head down and his mouth closed. He had learned already that speaking only made things worse. That night, in his small room in the lowest section of the station, Do-hyun sat on his bed and stared at his hands. These hands that could do nothing. This body that had no gifts. This mind that could not connect to anything. He thought about his mother, who had worked so hard for him to be here. He thought about Earth and all the humans who had hoped he would prove their worth. He thought about his father, who had died believing that humanity would one day stand equal with the stars. He had failed them all. In the darkness of his room, Park Do-hyun made a quiet promise to himself. He did not know how, and he did not know when, but someday he would prove them wrong. Someday he would show the galaxy that humans were not nothing. Someday. But that night, he felt very far from someday. That night, he felt only shame and sorrow and the heavy weight of being completely alone.